How do you remove blemishes, fine lines, and wrinkles in Photoshop? This is a quick follow-up to my last video. Some of y'all wanted to see how I would make these edits in Photoshop, so this is a tutorial on how to do so. If you're new here, my name is Michelle, and I release weekly videos on marketing, websites, and all things design. So if you find this information helpful, please be sure to give this video a like. And without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. We're starting with the same 3 images that we were using in the Canva tutorial. So this tutorial is just, again, showing you how to remove those blemishes and wrinkles in Photoshop. Let's get started with the first blemishes. And just a quick setup. I have 3 different artboards and I've got each of the pictures on them. And then I've just made a duplicate of the picture because I want to show you where we start and where we go. So we can turn those on and off so that you can see the results. So I'm going to start with blemishes. I'm going to zoom in on this one so we can see what we're doing. And here is our lovely girl. My favorite, absolute most favorite tool is the spot healing brush. So I've got my tools over here. And so there is one, it's the letter J. So if you need to find it really quickly, you could just hit the letter J on your keyboard, but it's going to bring you to the spot healing brush tool. So there are actually a few different ones and we'll go over a couple of these, but the spot healing brush is the one that we want. So I've got my brush size. Now I can make my brush bigger and smaller just by hitting the square brackets. So the left one will make it smaller, the right square bracket will make it bigger. All I want to do is just make it big enough to surround the blemish. And then I'm just going to click once. And if that's not the closest thing you've ever found to magic, I don't know what is. So again, we would just hover over, click once, and it's gone. Hover over, click once, doing the same thing, and all of our blemishes are gone. Now, we did see that a freckle was repeated. So if you wanted to continue to refine those, I might zoom in on one of those freckles. Maybe that's not something that we want. It's just kind of pulling skin from surrounding areas and refining those. So as much as you want, you can use that spot healing brush to really, you can pull and drag anything that you want refined. You can just click on it and it's gone. It's literally magic. So where did we start? That's where we started. This is where we ended up. So the difference is just so huge. Let's move on to the fine lines and wrinkles. So this one is going to be a little bit different of the process. We will select our layer palette over here, the one that we're going to use. We're just going to use the top layer. And we can do the same thing with the healing brush. I can adjust the size and then maybe I just want to remove some of those lines. Now, I will say when you are dealing with wrinkles, sometimes this gets a little wonky. So you gotta just play with it and see what kind of results you can get, which is why I duplicated the layer, really. If you ever go down too far on a path and you're like, I don't like this, I need to start over, at least you have an easy copy that you can go back to. But again, we can pull that spot healing brush and that really starts to smooth some things out. We can do it as much as we want. With her skin texture, it might get to look a little strange. There's like these pockets of like pink, but I can click on anything in the skin and even like the tip of the nose. We can remove and refine all of those with just the spot healing brush. I am going to show you another technique that you could think about if you wanted to use it. So as I'm starting to remove some of these lines, again, there's like some splotchiness that's going on with the skin color. So that might not be to your liking, but we can try to get this to a place that we feel comfortable with. Okay, so let's try a different technique. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to click this little plus here, create a new layer on top of the one that we're working with. And I'm going to come over to the eyedropper tool and I can easily get there just by hitting the letter I. So it looks like the little dropper over here. And I'm going to take a sample of a skin color. So I'm going to just target this forehead area for right now. And so I'm just going to pick a color and then I want to do a gradient. So I'm going to choose my gradient tool. It's the letter G. If you need to find it quickly, there are different types of tools in the G. There's a paint bucket, but we want the gradient. So make sure that you've got that selected. I then want to choose radial gradient, which is the second one in here at the top. And then I'm going to take that color that we chose, and I'm just going to draw a little spot over the top of it. And maybe, you know, I might refine it a little bit. That's obviously not how I want to leave it. I want to do a little bit of masking because some of the color got into the hair. And then I'm going to pull the opacity down so that it just gives an overall smoother appearance, but we're still pulling a little bit of texture through. So I might go to the mask tool. That creates a mask. If you have the color black selected, you would want to use your brush tool. The letter B will get you to your brush tool. And then I can draw on the areas that I don't want. So you can already see that that's darkening up because that color was overlaid on top. So maybe we just want to make sure that areas we didn't want that color are safe. You can kind of start to see that there's little black marks on the mask. That's just saying that it's masked. It's not being deleted. It's just being hidden. So if you needed to bring it back, the white color of a brush would do that. So we could bring that back if we really wanted to. In this case, we don't really want to. Hitting Shift X will switch my color so I can go back to the black brush and remove that. So like I said, we want to select the layer, and then we can just pull the opacity down just a little bit so we can start to play with that. And like that's starting to look a little bit smoother and brighter. We can do the same thing. So maybe we like the pink color of her cheeks, but we want it to be more intentional. Let's start a new layer. You know, I could name this layer forehead, and then we can create a new layer and we can do the same process. We're gonna choose the eyedropper, the letter I. Let's choose this pink color. It's a little bit darker. G for our gradient. We're gonna pull the gradient the same way. We're gonna do a little bit bigger this time. Again, obviously that's not how you want to leave it. And then we can choose the mask again. We'll choose our brush tool. I want to make sure that it didn't touch the eye. So I'm going to block out the eye and then maybe the edge of the hair because I don't want that compromised. So we've got this pink color on there, and then we can pull the opacity down just a little bit so that we're getting a smoother pink color throughout her cheek. So if there's anything else, you can use the letter J, that spot healing brush, and then we can go back and then remove anything that we think isn't to our liking. Now, if we remove some of the major crease lines that are just really natural to everyone's face, that might be where we get into the territory of things not looking so natural. So you do need to be careful. But if there are certain dark spots that you want to get rid of, those are super easy just to really remove away. So I'm going to group this, just doing Command G on a Mac, probably Control G on a PC. I'm going to group that so that I can reveal, maybe we zoom out a little, where we ended up and where we started. So you can really start to see that that is a pretty big difference of what we were able to achieve just by adding a few different colors and using that spot healing brush. Okay, last picture. And if you remember in the Canva tutorial, I did say that if you had a super close up with a lot of skin texture, it really wasn't going to work in Canva. Photoshop is going to be your tool for that. And so I'm going to show you a different tool. Let's click our top layer there. And then instead of the spot healing brush, the patch tool is really cool. So I get to draw a shape. So I'm going to draw a shape. And now there's an area selected that I want to fix. But what I'm going to do is click in the center and drag it to a location where I feel like I want to mimic some of the texture. So if I pull and drag to an area, you can already start to see that there's some content that's being filled in. It's just going to mesh with the surrounding colors. So I let go and boom, I'm going to hit Command D to release that. But that is amazing. You can do this just by selecting whichever blemish areas you want. We can just keep drawing and pulling it as much as we need. We could do the same thing. We can check out the spot healing brush. You know, that might help us too. Let's try a couple of those. And we're just clicking in areas to remove any of those marks that we are not happy with. So what about sometimes, like I said, there's going to be some weird lines that are not blended quite as much as you'd like. You can try again. Maybe we could switch back to the patch tool and see if there's something that we can achieve a better look. Maybe I just pull it down. That's really going to blur. So if you pull too far away, that's not going to give you the results that you want. So let's just try another. Maybe that's okay. Another thing that we could do is go ahead and use that technique again where we're smoothing things out. So we've got this darker color of skin here. It looks like a little bit of rosy cheeks. We can use our eyedropper tool, pick a color, and then use our gradient tool by clicking on G. We can just do an area. Again, not going to leave it like that because that doesn't look good. We'll add a mask. I don't want any of her lips to be colored, so we will remove anything that might have gotten there. It looks like they're pretty good. There's some areas over here. So I might make the brush just a little bit wider. And again, we can play with this as much as we want. We will click on the main portion of that layer, and then I want to bring back the opacity so that we can just smooth out the cheek just a little bit without losing any of the color. So this is a huge improvement. We still got that skin texture in there. The more that you play with it and refine it, the more that you can get it to look natural. If we want to group this really quickly to see where we ended up and where we started. So I think that's a huge improvement. So this is just a quick tip to edit your photos in Photoshop to get skin that you can be confident in. If you have any questions of what I did, please let me know in the comments and I can help you out. I hope you found this information helpful. Please be sure to give this video a like. Subscribing doesn't hurt either. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.